my perception is that a lot of times people talk about compassion. It seems to have kind of an external basis. It seems like I have compassion for another person. I have compassion for a starving child in another part of the world. But what I wanted to kind of gently challenge today, to just make sure that we kind of have some compassion for ourselves first, because my belief is that if we don't have compassion for ourselves, we don't have a point of reference for our compassion. When it gets placed externally without us feeling compassion for ourselves, there's something that's kind of ungrounded about it. It's kind of like there's something that's like disconnected, I guess would be a way to say it. Because there has to be, it's just like love. If I don't have love for myself, how can I truly love another? If I don't feel what I'm feeling, how can I truly feel what someone else is feeling? Empathy is kind of what we're shooting for. We want to feel with someone. So if I'm going to feel with someone, I have to be feeling myself, which means I have to have my heart open. So the first part is being open, allowing in, then I can feel, and then when I feel, I can feel with someone else. So when I'm not feeling and I'm not allowing in and feeling, the empathy that I think I'm feeling is actually more of an intellectual construct. It's like the idea of empathy. We love the idea of empathy. We love the idea of compassion, and we love the idea of love, of course. When these things don't emanate from our heart and from our openness and from our heart chakra, there's kind of a contrived element to it. It becomes more of a concept and more of an idea rather than a true experience. So we want to experience compassion. We don't want to like the idea of compassion. I mean, everyone likes the idea of it. It's like, oh, I'm so compassionate and I feel for this. So that gets more mind, right? It's more like I think about people and I feel for them. And that's great. There's like, that's a wonderful thing. That's better than, no, it's better than just thinking about ourselves, right? It's like I'm thinking about other people. I'm considering other people, which is awesome in itself, right? I mean, that's good. I'm not putting it down. But I'm just saying is if we want to take it deeper and we want to add more richness and kind of openness to it, it's good to start with feeling compassion for ourselves. Then we have a point of reference. Then I have compassion for myself and I'm connected to the person that I have compassion for. A lot of us have difficulty, myself included, can be a challenge, of having compassion for ourselves, right? I mean, if our friend's having a rough time and say their boss treated them poorly, and then our friend says, my boss treated me really poorly, and I really don't like my job. And then most of us are pretty good at finding compassion for our friend, right? It's like, oh, that your boss is a jerk, and they don't appreciate you, and they don't know they don't know how cool you are, and they don't deserve you. And we're good at that, right? We can have compassion for another. But then when it's having compassion for myself, that can be difficult, especially it's not necessarily difficult when everything's going well, right? When we feel good about ourselves and things are going well, then I can have compassion. Things are going good. But when things do not go as well, or say I didn't do it up to my standards, I was off, or I had a judgment, or whatever, then it becomes more difficult to find compassion for ourselves, because now I have to say there's a dark element of myself, say that I got angry, or say that I got envious, or say that I got jealous, which are human emotions, then can I have compassion? Or now it's just like, oh, I felt jealous. Jealous is a negative emotion, therefore not cool. So see, now my compassion for self starts breaking down a little bit, and it's no longer all like, oh, I have so much compassion for myself. So it really becomes essential to accept our humanity and accept all of the parts of ourselves, from the most beautiful to the most hideous, is what my teacher used to say. It's like, all of life, from the most beautiful, that's all part of me. Okay, now I don't have to act out the most hideous, but there are tinges of that from time to time. I feel dark feelings. I don't necessarily need to act on my dark feelings, but I feel them. And if we encompass that, and it's okay to feel whatever I'm feeling, and to not be perfect, and to have a full spectrum of feelings, and thoughts are even worse, right? We thought feelings are bad. We'll just go into our mind a little bit, and we have all kinds of judgments. And so, when we read these books and they say, oh, it's not good to judge. It's, we shouldn't judge. Well, we'll just listen. Have you ever tried to meditate and just observe your mind? Well, there's plenty of judgments going on, right? Those are just thoughts. Those are just feelings. They don't mean I'm a bad person. They're just things I'm experiencing. So if I can embrace those things and, and just saying, okay, yeah, judge the heck out of that guy. I'm not sure why, but, and have that be okay. It's like unconditional love with ourself. It's like unconditionally loving ourself. If I can have unconditional love toward myself, that would be the foundation for compassion. That would be the foundation for loving another. Really? I mean, if I can't love myself, I have no point of reference. If I'm judging myself, I'm going to project that judgment onto other people. That's what projections use. That's what judgments are, right? I mean, they're projections of feeling poorly about ourselves, and that's always a rough pill to swallow, right? It's just like, that person's such a jerk, and Well, if I was feeling good about that part of myself, I probably wouldn't have an issue with that other person. So if I can unconditionally love or unconditionally accept me as I am, even if I'm having a dark thought, even if I'm having a dark feeling, even if I make a big mistake that hurts another person's feelings, even if I say something stupid, or even if I am insensitive and it hurts, or I didn't consider my friend and then something goes wrong and it hurts her feelings. I mean, even that type of stuff. Can I still accept myself as a human being that made a mistake? When we're having difficulty accepting something we did in the past, okay? It's a behavior we did. When we're having difficulty with that, a really good skill is to just ask ourselves, why did we do that? So in order to do that, we're back to compassion. We have to have compassion for the Michael. So say I'm Michael. So say I did something 10 years ago that hurt someone else, or affected my life or someone else's life in a negative way. It's just like, how could I have been uncool to my perfectly good girlfriend at the time? How could I have done that? Now she doesn't like me anymore, and if I only wouldn't have done that one thing, that maybe my life would be so much better. I'm making this up, but you get the idea. So 10 years ago, so say I did this thing 10 years ago. Okay, so what I need to do is I have to have compassion for the Michael of 10 years ago. Okay, so that's not Michael now. I'm very different now. And the little game we do is we take our awareness that we have now, and then I judge the Michael of 10 years ago and say, well, how could I do that? I was so selfish. Well, compared to now, the Michael of 10 years ago, I have to tell you, was pretty selfish. He was more selfish than this Michael now. Okay, so he was less aware. Okay, he was less wise. He was more arrogant. So those are things, because I've grown. I mean, this is a good thing, right? I mean, hopefully the person you are now is more conscious and aware and loving and open, and compassionate than that person 10 years ago. So I have to look, it's like, okay, there was Michael 10 years ago. Okay, he's trucking along and he does this unwitting thing, and it hurts someone's feelings and it affects his life in a way that he didn't want it to. The skill is asking So why did Michael do that? Why did the Michael of 10 years ago do that? And having compassion for that Michael, much like if your friend came in now and said, you know what, I think I said something really stupid to my girlfriend and I don't think she likes me anymore. Now, what would you say? Would you say to that person, would you say, how could you be so stupid? No, you'd say, oh man, well, what a dude, like, what did you say? It's like, oh yeah, I just said this and this and this. It's like, oh man, why did you say that? Why, what was going on? Like what, and so we would question them, but we wouldn't say, oh, you can't believe what a jerk you were. We wouldn't say that. And that's the same thing. We'd have compassion for this poor person that feels terrible. He said something and it may have ruined his relationship and he's freaking out. So I'm going back to this Michael of 10 years ago and I'm just saying, okay, so why did Michael say that or do that thing or push his girlfriend away? There he was. It was going great. Maybe it was more love than Michael could stand. More love than Michael could bear to allow. He didn't love, he didn't love himself enough to be able to accept that level. So he unconsciously started pushing her away. For compassion, it's just accepting. It's like there was Michael trucking along and, imperfect as he was and still is, by the way. And then his girlfriend just shows him so much love that it freaks him out and he pushes her away. So it's like, can I have compassion for that? It's just like, well, I wasn't able to stand that much love at the time. It scared me. It was more, I was starting to feel too intimate, too exposed, too vulnerable. So I pushed her away. So I said something stupid, hurt her feelings, and then I felt safe again. Can I embrace that? Can I have compassion? Can I accept, unconditionally accept that Michael and what he did? Even though what he did caused him a relationship that was very precious to him. Can I forgive him? Can I accept that that was Michael's best that he was able to do at that time? So once I have self-compassion, both with experiences in the past and experiences in the present, and I can just accept, it's like, yep, said some stupid things, and it really hurt someone's feelings, and did these things, and it changed the course of my life. It ruined a relationship. Doing some things now that I'm being very judgmental, or I was reactionary, or I didn't really pay attention to how my friend was feeling. Now, certainly I want to learn from these things, right? I mean, I don't want to, I want to accept them, but I don't want to do them again. Okay, so certainly I'm going to do closure. I'm going to learn from them and that whole thing. But, can I accept that that was my best at that given moment? Once I have that self-compassion, I want to even call it self-acceptance, unconditional acceptance for myself. Once I have that, then I have a foundation for unconditional acceptance of another. Okay, because it's clear. I can allow their energy in, I can connect with them, and then I can feel empathy and I can feel true compassion because I'm accepting myself and my humanity, then I can accept their humanity. So when they do something, they have a foible, they have a dark thought, they say something insensitive, I can just say, oh yeah, we're human beings. I do that and you do that, damn, I'm feel for you. That wasn't what you wanted to do. But there's no judgment. We have empathy, we have compassion, we have acceptance and love for them, even when they're doing something insensitive or unconscious or unaware. Maybe they act out of anger. Maybe my friend, gets angry and yells at her child and it hurts her feelings. It's just very, not something she wants to make a practice of, a habit of, but very human. It happens, right? So then she feels badly I accept that humanity, that kind of that potentiality of doing that in myself. Okay, it's like I've acted out of anger before. I could act out of anger and I could be short with a vulnerable child and hurt her feelings. So it's like, yep, I have that potentiality. I could see. So I'm not like putting myself above her and just saying, how could you yell at your child? I mean, that's not compassion, right? That's just judgment. So it's just like, yep, I have that potentiality. Sure enough, my friend, she yelled at her child and it hurt the child's feelings and she feels terrible. And then I can have compassion saying, oh, yeah, oh man, oh, I feel for you. I know that's not what you wanted to do. I know that's not who you are. Okay, but we're not perfect. How can you forgive yourself and move on? And how can we do our best to not allow that to happen again, at least in the same way, right? It's like, well, what happened? It's like, oh, this happened and then this, and I was stressed out and I didn't do my yoga practice in the morning, and then I did this, and then I was late for work, and then the child was like in my face, and I was just like, what are you doing? And so it's like, how can I learn from that to not do it again? So then I've got compassion, right? Because I accept that the potentiality is in me as a human being, dark thoughts, less than enlightened behaviors, and then I can accept them in my friend. If I'm not able to relate to it, relating means I have that in me and relating to that in them, I would argue that it's not true compassion. It's a conceptual or intellectual version of that compassion. And so what's the difference? It has a different energy. If I have compassion for someone intellectually, once again, that's not bad. That's better than not having compassion for someone at all. It's like I'm at least thinking about another person, but when it's intellectual, it's conceptual, and it's a little more detached from my heart. Okay, so it's a little different. It has a different quality. Compassion that comes from my heart has a different texture to it. It has a different vibration, a different energy to it. And people can feel that. I mean, we think we can trick them, right? It's like, well, if I just get in my head. No, people can feel, it has a different energy. People can feel true compassion when it's from our heart, okay? It has a different texture, a different vibration, a different energy than, I'm just going to call it like intellectual compassion. What I'm just inviting us to try doing, and myself included, is to just bring this compassion, bring this love, and bring it back into our own heart. So rather than like, it's energetically, rather than pushing that energy out, it's like, I'm having compassion for the poor child that blah 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 blah, that was mistreated by his mother. I'm having compassion, and that's what we tend to do. We kind of push our compassion out. Rather, what we might want to try is to just kind of allow the energy of the mistreated child into our own heart, okay? And then it's just like, oh, I can feel, I have empathy for this poor child. I can feel, but see, that requires me to feel the pain. And that's what we don't always want to do. As my teacher used to say, that requires us to get some on us. Okay. Now we can't just, it's not safe. I can't think about the poor underprivileged person. I'm now feeling what it's like for the underprivileged person. I'm feeling with the underprivileged person. That takes more courage. That is not always very comfortable. So why do it? Well, why do it? Because it has a different energy. It has a different texture. And then that person, when I'm having compassion for her, she can feel like she's not alone. She can feel that I'm right there with her, because I am right there with her, right? My heart is with her heart. Our hearts are together. They're vibrating together, And so So that's then she's like, wow, he felt with me, he saw me, he heard me, he understood, he felt my pain with me. Okay, that is so healing. Our heart is open. Where does the healing happen? It happens, in our heart, and we extend our heart energy out, and that heals, right? It's a whole different thing when we're there with them, when my heart is with their heart. My open heart is feeling their pain with them, empathizing with them. Okay, that has a whole other level of healing that happens. That has a whole other experience for that client, for that, they're feeling like, I'm not just saying that they're not alone, they're experiencing that they're not alone because my heart is right there with their heart. That is a more challenging thing, because then we got to feel, then we have to be vulnerable. Then we have to let go of control, okay? Because I can't our mind just wants to feel the good stuff, right? And when you open, when I open up and just feel whatever's there, okay, then I have to let go of control because I got to feel all of what's going on in that other person's heart. Some of my friends that do kind of psychic work or intuitive work, they had to learn this at an early age, right? I mean, and their work is they don't get to just experience the good stuff, right? I mean, they get to feel all of what's going on in the other person, and so it's like they don't just get to control. And it's like, oh, see, our mind can can sort it out, and it can allow us, it's like, oh yeah, the good stuff is good, but the other stuff, that's no good. Get that stuff out of here, and that's bad. Well, when we're open, we get to feel the whole Megillah. We get to feel the whole deal. We get to feel everything that's going on. And the dark stuff, the light stuff, the happy, the sad, the painful, the, euphoric. I mean, it's like feeling, it's a packaged deal. We want to find this deeper compassion for other people. This like Mother Teresa compassion, right? If we want to find, true Mother Teresa compassion, or whoever your hero is, Pema Chodron compassion, or, whatever, Dalai Lama compassion. If you want to find that level of compassion, we have to be willing to let go and feel whatever's there unconditionally and allow it to just be as it is. It's just like, this is how it is. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to trust myself to get through that. And then it's like a whole different deal. Then it's healing just by walking in that space. We're not even doing anything. I'm not even doing any body work, or I'm not doing any healing modality, right? All I'm doing is I'm feeling with that person. I'm opening my heart and I'm allowing their energy to go through my heart. Okay, I might not even be, if I'm doing a coaching session, I might not even be saying an insightful thing. I might not be doing, Reiki, or I might not be doing trauma work or EMDR. All I'm doing is I'm just sitting there, right? I'm allowing their energy in, and I'm feeling what it feels like to be them. Healing happens heart to heart. It's like my heart embracing their heart. So their heart's not alone, and I unconditionally accept their heart exactly the way it is. Then healing happens. My invitation to myself and to you that's watching is, can we find my challenge, invitation and challenge is, can we find the courage to drop that compassion down from a concept and an idea down into our, and I'm not saying you don't do this. Some of you do this, you know, and I do this better sometimes than others, but it's still a challenge to me is when I feel like it's up here to just drop it down. What am I feeling? You know, when I talk to the underprivileged person or the poor child that was abandoned, you know, am I allowing myself, and I'm talking to him and I'm trying to help, am I feeling with him? Or am I staying safe and processing it from my intellect? And again, not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, at least I'm like there with the guy, I'm trying to help him, right? But I mean, but can I allow it to drop down and deepen and find that true compassion, that empathy, that love really for that person, that unconditional love for the experience that he's having right now. The more that you can do that in your day-to-day life, you know, every time you do that, the world becomes a little healing happens. There's a little more love energy on the planet every time we do that. So that's what I'm going to try to work with. I invite you to try it. Be gentle with yourselves because you're going to go back up into your head. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, and that's okay. And then when you notice it, just notice it. It's like, oh, I'm kind of doing the conceptual version of compassion. Let's drop it back down. What happened? Well, when they started talking about the abuse, I kind of freaked out and I went into my head. Okay, I'm human, right? That happened. It was nasty to hear that, but I'm going to drop it back down again. Okay? And so anyway, thank you for exploring compassion with me today. If you have your ideas of compassion, I would love to hear them. You know, if it's in YouTube or in my, type in a little comment down below, or if it's on, however you've seen that, it's on my website or my blog, send me an email. I'd love to hear what your ideas of compassion, because I am certainly not the expert or the know-it-all guy here. These are some ideas that I've been mulling around with, and I wanted to kind of just put them out there. So it could be a dialogue. It doesn't have to be a diatribe. It could be a dialogue, and you could like tell me what you think, and you can disagree, or and that would be great, because then it deepens for all of us. So if you like this this video, feel free to join my YouTube channel and tell your friends about it, and thank you so much, and have a compassionate day.